Hi, Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services, and we're back with another live stream. And yes, Lewis, I did delete yesterday's live stream. I showed some information at the very end that I did not want to be seen because it contained some password information to one of my accounts. So I deleted it, but I have my own recording of it. I'm going to edit that live stream and chop it up into sections. So it's still available, but I'm going to chop it up into different sections, covering the entire subject. Cut out a lot of the chit chat in between, and of course, take out that one portion near the end that did show some private password information. So I still have it. Worst come to worst, I could redo the entire live stream with no problem. But then give me a couple of days to chop it up, because I wanted to get this one out so that there's no break in the actual series. Now this is for the entire summer, so I'm not going to cover all 10 things that a church pianist should practice in 3 or 4 days. This is for the entire summer, so I'll be going back and forth to each of the subjects. We're on number 3 though, and thank for those who did stay with me for over 3 hours yesterday. That live stream will be put back up. It's going to be edited so that there won't be so much chatter that I had during that live stream. So we're looking at now the number 3 on the list of 10 things every church pianist should cover. If you're seeing this this version of the 10 things and you missed the first 2, the first one was scales and arpeggios, which we covered on our first live stream, which is still available, where a pianist, one who is, I'll say, a functioning pianist, they want to be able to sit down and work on the ability to play scales, not just one key, but in every key. Not just from a practice standpoint, but to get their fingering and their syncopation limit up in every key, and not just, let's move my left hand out of the way. There we go. G flat. G. I should be able to do this without looking at it, because I practiced this for decades, but never having a conversation. B flat, B major. Come on, B major. I'm trying not to look, because muscle memory does play into the welcome Sub-Zero and welcome Dimitri. I'm going to try not to do a viewer request during this this live stream, Dimitri, because I took up a lot of time in yesterday's live stream doing a lot of viewer requests, and it kind of messed up the what I was doing with the series, which is why another reason why I want to edit a lot of that out. But if you have a request in, it's on the list. I have probably 4 that I haven't gotten to yet, because I want to be doing this series also. So, and we've got time, unless of course it is an emergency that you need to learn that song for a rehearsal that is coming up. Then I'll go offline and work on that, and you'll let me know that in the comment. So the arpeggios, again, was part of the first series, where you work on, an arpeggio is a chord broken up. Change. And of course, the full arpeggios using the sustain pedal, where you roll across. E flat, E, F, we go lower, G flat. I do it one hand. and so on. So those are the arpeggio. And again, we also say you should practice these scales in the minor scale also in every key. And I've done an entire series on the scales in every key. So for those that may be watching that say, well, where do I go to learn all this? Go to the search engine on this channel and type in whatever it is that you're looking for, and a series has already been prepared. Not just one video, but several videos. And of course, the arpeggios in those keys. Now, how are you supposed to practice? If you're watching me in this format, giving you this demonstration, that's how you're supposed to practice. Not sloppily like I'm doing right now, because I'm kind of rushing it, because I'm trying to get to the next section, because that's the most important one. But all you're doing is training your hands to be able to move. Your hands should be able to respond to your thoughts. High, low, middle. High, low, middle. Low, high. These are the minor keys. And the arpeggios. So, and on the stream, which I'm going to edit and put back up, we covered chord progressions. Now, chord progressions, we covered the common ones that are being used in today's songs, but in yesterday's songs, they were not just chord progressions, but they were passing tones, there were modes, which we also covered, that you will see once I put that edited version back up. Okay, Dimitri, that's a lot to ask for to be done in quick time. And I'm putting it out there just the way that I'm saying it. It's better when it's just one request. And if I remember right, one of the songs, Time Cool, is not a gospel song. If I remember, I'm not going to go look at it. After this live stream, I will go and I will answer based upon what you're requesting. But if it's 3, as I'm looking at what you have right here, Morris Day, Time Cool, that's already 2. Again, I do request for church musicians that that give me time, because you're not the only one requesting, and when you do multiple requests, that's taken away from someone who's requesting for the first time. So I make that determination whether how quickly it's done. But right now I'm doing this series, so I will look at again your request and see whether or not it should be done offline, which means we have to have an actual consultation. Because chords are chords, and what I teach makes it possible for you to learn any song just like I do it. Sometimes some songs from a different era of gospel music requires a lot more technique. But let me get back to what I'm doing. I am monitoring the request, because to do for a weekend show, that's not, I'll use a term, an emergency on your part is not an emergency on mine. Poor planning, I should say, on your part is not an emergency on mine. And I'm gonna let it stop right there. Welcome, Augustine. Yes, I love hymns. So we were covering the different progressions that are part of the number system. And as you can see, both hands practicing the same chords, not just one key, minor, major, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. There it is. And not just the major keys, but minor also. Now, we did a whole series on the minor scales. I'm not going to redo a series that is already on the channel. I always encourage those who come to my channel for the first time to take advantage of the 2000 400 plus videos that is on this station, on this channel, because there's something you may be looking for song wise which may have been covered already, or there's a technique that you may be looking to get more gospelized in it, also on the channel. But if you don't search, like using an encyclopedia to search what you're looking for, you won't know that it's already there. So though that was what was covered on the yesterday's video, the different progressions, and we played a lot of songs and applied progressions to them. And I used the example of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Make Mary Had a Little Lamb, As the Deer is what I went into. Those are all progressions. The 1, 6, 3, 6, 5, 1, 4, stay in the 4 to the 3. And we established that the number system is based on the lowest note, which is the bass note, but that you could have multiple chords within the number system, which is why I talk to it for those who are very dependent on the number system, but then I try to wean you off by insisting that if you learn your scales, major, minor, harmonic minor, and I'll throw in the actual jazz pentatonic scale and the jazz minor scale, you will find that gospel music is heavily dependent on all of those scales. And once you have practiced them to the point where you can recognize them being used in any song you want to learn, there's no song you can't learn. So, hymns, the subject, playing, hymn playing as the number 3 practice session. Now, yes, there is for the younger musicians, if you've never heard a hymn played by a musician, and I will put it like this because I know where I came from. If you've never heard a song played by a musician, you won't like the way it sounds when you're tasked to learn it. Most churches now, this era, 2024, have been weaning off of hymns and leaning more on the praise and worship type songs. Completely, what's the word I want to use? I always try to find the correct word. Disregarding a large segment of their membership that was raised on hymns. It's nice to reharmonize a hymn, but then that demographic of listener, congregant, church member who gives offertory leaves the church wondering, why did I come today? Because they didn't sing anything that I can recognize. So what I attempt to do on this channel is to feature hymns from the era in which I was in. This is the 1970s all the way up to 2019 when I played my last hymn in the last church I was in, giving the concept of applying scales, chords, chord progressions to the sound of a hymn so that it is pleasing to be heard. Now, I put out a booklet, and I don't have it on this page, and I should have it, a booklet of 20 standard hymns every beginner church musician should know with the chording. Now, I didn't put any melody in there because they would be recognizable. In fact, I should be able to bring up, because this is important when it's a part of an actual practice segment for any church musician. I want to see, do I have that? I have 2 computers, and the one that did that work should have that book here. Let me just look for it. No, that's and also this book is available in my online store, but if you are a Patreon member, then that book comes as part of your Patreon membership. I'm looking for it, and this computer doesn't have it. And it should. Because I can use that book as part of my examples. Okay, give me, let's swap this camera. All right. Where are you? Okay, we'll work it like this. Let me pull up the book. I'm going to download it from my own Patreon site because I don't seem to have it on this computer. There it is. 20 hymns and chords in C. So it's not a shameless plug, but I am going to plug my product because I put the time in to create it to assist church musicians. Give me a chance to capture the window. Because I'll use that for my example. And again, this is an available workbook on my site. There we go. So, for the musicians who are in denial that hymns are not relative for use in the church today, I have to differ. If you've never heard a competent musician, a musician who you have faith and trust in, play a hymn, not like the hymn book, but like a musician would, then yes, it will sound old-timey and boring. Let me move this. There we go. Nope, that's not what I want to do. I have this thing about order. Okay, so when you don't know hymns from a title standpoint, then you will become confused as to, well, what is a hymn? In this booklet, not only did I give you, and again, this is available online at my online store for $5. If you want to be a member of the Patreon, that's a $5 membership fee. You get this booklet and everything else that I have put out there, a year and a half worth of audio files. I've done my own, I'm grifting. I've done my own recordings. You get a whole listing of those, probably about 20 audio files now in MP3 format. You get specially made MIDI files. You get PDF files. You get videos that YouTube will never see of songs that I've broken down while the audio is played in the background, all for the sum of $5 per month subscription for supporting me and this channel. Again, I'm all about supporting musicians where I possibly can. So in this book, not only, well, here are the hymns that I placed in this book for musicians who say, well, I don't know hymns. Hymns are boring. Hymns are not relative today. Nobody sings hymns anymore. This is what I placed in this book. Blessed assurance, great is thy faithfulness, I surrender all. How great thou art, Holy, 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 what a friend we have in Jesus. It is well with my soul. Pass me not, O gentle Savior, and on and on and on and on and on. When a musician who's learning this path is giving misinformation by their peers, you don't want to learn hymns. That's old-timey. Nobody plays that anymore. You'll learn nothing from it. I have to disagree as a musician who was part of this era, learning all these songs, that if a musician don't know how to play hymns, he should never say this, they're old-timey and they're not relative if you can't play them. I give musicians who give me the opportunity to support their journey the ability to say, here's what I learned and here's what you should learn, because it will come up in your path and your journey. You're not always going to be playing for a church that bumps and shout all the time. As you get older, you may get offered an opportunity to go play for a church that pays a lot better. You know what they're going to ask you? Do you know these hymns? And it'd be a sad state for you who's ready to move up, who's ready to make a little extra coin, as they say, and you have to answer the question, no, I don't know them. Then they'll say, well, thank you, and then they'll go looking for someone who does. This booklet gives you more than just hymns. I put in a basic chord chart, which is what we've been covering. What are chords? How are they formed? Again, this is not supposed to be about this, but we're going to talk about hymns. But you always need to have a foundation in which to support hymn playing on. The proper way to play scales, how your hands are formed, where the numbers are found. Chords in every key, minor chords, a whole section of chords that you see me play, more chords. And then we get into Blessed Assurance. And again, this is basic 101 for the beginner musician. But you're going to find a lot of advanced musicians would have trouble. I just want to bring the keyboard up. A lot of the latter-day musicians of this era will have trouble or would say, well, this is horrible. You can't learn this song like that. Well, if you knew the chords that were available to you, all these chords, major, minor, diminished, augmented, the whole gambit of chords, the seventh chord chart, and you learn the bottom, Blessed Assurance. This is 101. What do I give you on there? I give you a head start. There's the chord designation in the melody. Now, if you don't know the melody, it's because you don't practice scales. You would have heard Blessed Assurance at some time in your walk in a church as a youngster to know what that melody is. I can't spoon feed the new musician everything, but I can give you a head start, a foundation to build everything on top of. So when the musician says, well, hymns are boring, I'm like, okay, let me hear you play the melody by itself. This is scales. All scales. Occidental. If they miss that note, then you know that they don't know all their scales. Purchase of God, born of his spirit, washed in his blood. Now, if they could get through that, I'm like, okay, then I know you practice scales because you played it through without, and you knew that that change is coming. Now, put a chord around that, but not your 1, 4, 5 chords, but put all the other chords that go to support that, because that is how the song becomes recognizable to any listener. I extend my chords. the chords, which is on those previous pages. Walking up the scales, heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of his spirit, washed in his blood. Now, that's church style. But what happens when you want to add a different style? That is what my site offers to you. Learn the basic style number one, which is what this beginner book is for. Learn the basic of the hymnal style, which is block chords. This is a block chord. Block chord with the melody on the top. Block chord, block chord, block chord. These are all block chords, no movement, just for the melody. For the number count of 6, 2, 5 with a C, resolve. That gets you through the church service. In your own time, this is what my site offers to you. Now, which one would you rather be singing behind on a Sunday morning? I added elements of classical, I added elements of jazz, I added elements of straight hymns, still keeping the melody in place. Because the melody lets you know what the song is. So if I did it without the melody, I can do it without the melody. Why? Because I understand where the melody is going, where the chords are going, and I have a palette. I have a palette of chords to pick and choose from. But without this palette, a hymn would sound very boring. Oh, I also give you a background on where the song came from, because the more you understand something that you don't like, then you say, well, yeah, really, look at the songwriter. I give you the songwriter, I give you the era which it was written, and a brief synopsis of what this song really stands for, as far as this hymn is a declaration of the believer's confidence in their salvation and joy found in a life of faith. This is what I'll call them, forgotten congregation is missing. Someone who will play a song that they can recognize, that is not just this, not just this, not just this, not just this, but has an actual melody attached to it. And yes, you can put those chords in there if your skill level is not to all those chords which I've just shown. But if you don't know all those chords, and I will always stand on this, if you don't know all this exists, because no one who you have confidence in has shown it to you, then I can understand why you don't like the sound of hymns. Key of C, still, let's go to Greatest Thy Faithfulness, which is what I covered. I give you, for the beginner musician, but this is about the hymn part of this series, where that is part of what you practice. Now, we're still in the key of C, because key of C is for the Piano 101 students. But as you can see, it doesn't have to stay 101. Greatest Thy Faithfulness is normally done in the key of E flat, but it can also be done in the key of C. Scales. There's that occidental again. because that's what him does. Right down the scales. There it is. I have to remember I wasn't in E flat. But as you can see, when a hymn generally is based on the major scale, and you know that you have an assortment of chords that you can apply to it, that gives you a leg up on the musicians of this day, of this era, who don't like the sound of hymns. If you could sit there and go, great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father, and give them the, was it 4-1, 5-1-4, 5-1-4. There is, and go diminish, no shadow, diminish again, major of, now the D, think of the D major scale, turning from with thee, and you walking down the scale, thou changes not, thy compassion, they fail not. Now, do you go diminish or you go straight? We'll go straight. G, and F, as thou, diminish now, has been, thou forever will be. And yes, I do know these lyrics because I played these songs for decades. But look at the choices I can select underneath the melody. I am melody driven. If I can't hear melody in the song, I can't learn it properly. If it's a song that I don't know, then, and someone is singing it incorrect, then I won't try to learn it. Generally, when you play for a soloist, you hope that they know the melody. When someone would come to sing the song in a service, and I hear that they don't know the melody, I go, okay, let me give them a melody. I go through the notes. First of all, to find their range. So I'm going to be in C. I lead them till they catch up. Hopefully by this time they know where they're going to go. They're going to stay right there. Thou changes not thy compassion. And now I'm still doing block chords. These are still block chords. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. The block chords are the ones that are here. These are the block chords. And by block chords, I mean there's no movement. They're just a block. On this 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 block. They're just block chords. There's no movement. They're just like a block with houses on it. Thou changest not, thy compassion, they fail not. We'll stay here. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. As you can see, the left hand picked up the melody. Why? Because it's below middle C. Once you know the block of chords that you want to select, you can go outside of the block. Great is thy faithfulness. I went outside the block. Is tritones. Let me see. Great is, there it is. And the tritone is what I spoke of yesterday. Tritone is a broken diminished chord. That's a diminished chord, but if you take away some of the notes, that gives you your tritone. Now, I don't have the chordiap on this viewpoint, but that's where you would find that note. But what you're doing is you're adding a little more color to support the melody. Tritone, but your progressions, 4, 1, chord, scales, now these are just classical movements. Now, gonna change the chord. Is not compassion. Block chords, they fail not. And there's our arpeggio. Arpeggio is what you're gonna throw in to fill space. That's why you practice, and this is the minor arpeggio. F as thou has been, thou forever, thou forever will be. So when a musician that you may have confidence in, that you consider to be a leader for you to follow, down talks hymns, you got to ask yourself or ask them why. If they don't have a resource in their past or in their history that has shown them a different way to play a hymn that is not book-wise, which is basically the hymnal, and they did not, were not in an environment that required them to seek out someone who could give them another approach to playing hymns, then you can gauge, well, when you don't know, it's easy to down something that you don't know. Like, I'm not a jazz musician, but I listen to others play jazz from my era, even up to now, the contemporary jazz, and I pick up something from what they're doing. I have jazz channels on YouTube that I am subscribed to. When they drop a video, I get notified, I get to go look and learn something that I don't know. Learn an approach, learn a term, learn an attribute of the jazz world that I may have been borrowing from what I've heard in my past, and then I become educated. Then I bring that back to this channel and I say, hey, I've heard this term used in a jazz demonstration, and this the terms that they use with it. I surrender all. Who does not know I surrender all? Key of C again, major scale. So you can find the first note, the 1, 5, 6, 4, 1, 5, all found in the scales. But then when you begin to extend chords, this is what I teach. There's that 5, 1, 4. I'm gonna go stay with the 2 minor, because you can go 2 major. And this is your jazz chord. Down the scales, but put a chord with it. Go out a little bit and resolve it on the 5. Learn and trust him. The A minor, in his presence daily live. So for the new musician, I want them to be able to have as much information as I could possibly give them, how great thou art. These are songs that are not pushed in your services anymore by the musicians because they have a fear of being found out. And this is just my point of view. Someone asks you to play Holy, 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 and you're going to be, huh? All right, why we want to sing that one? All in the scales. If you could do that, you could learn any hymn that uses that range. Now you put your chords with it from bass line. Holy, minor, 5, the 1 to the 4, back to the 1, 5, 1, 6, 5, G7, put a 7 on there. That's how easy it is when you apply the basics of Piano 101, scales and your bass chords. Now when you go to the listing of the additional chords that I've covered on this site, I have whole series, not just one video, and I'll be looking at the comments in just a second. I have a whole series, not just one video of what you see me play, because I know that if there's no foundation for those who watch my site and they only see one video, they'll be asking me questions like, can you slow it down? And I'm like, why? How about you learn how why I won't take a song that should be musician should know and break it down so that you can consume it, but learn the basics from the previous videos, and now any song in any key becomes open to you. Block chords. The 3 because I'm positioning my bass there. Walking it down on block chords. And these, when you practice all your chords, your different inversions, you learn how to move around with ease, half a note. Half a note. As far as you can reach, that's an octave, but look at all these notes, and you look for the ones that can accomplish what it needs to do, is to support a melody line. Diminished 7, jazz. F, G, or the 7 B, C, E, D, E, F on the bass, rather than numbers, letters F, E, B, E, A, C, F, C sharp, or D flat. In this case it'd be C sharp because we're in the C major, D, or the 2, G, C. So I speak the language of letters in the scales. Yes, I will talk to the number system. Let me look at the questions, because I know I've been talking a lot and not paying any attention to the questions. So let's see. That's a lot of songs for this weekend. Oh, okay, that's a response. One of the wonderful series fell asleep yesterday, but good lesson. Look forward to hearing. Oh, okay. Come on and bless the Lord with me and Quartet Style. Yesterday lesson was the best. I was just watching Blessed Quietness hymn. Lesson you did was a good one. Blessed Quietness did not make this list. I don't think it did. Did Blessed Quietness make this list? Because I only picked 20, which would be appropriate for a new musician to learn. Nope, Blessed Quietness did not make this list. But because any song is built on scales, once you hear what someone's singing it correctly, the same application happens. Blessed Quietness can fall into the same as, where is it? Do I have that there? I'm looking for, oh, I didn't put that there either. That one didn't make it either. What is that song? Down at the Cross. Glory to His name. Blessed Quietness falls in that same category as Down at the Cross. How great thou art, holy, holy, holy. Okay. I'll stop at what a friend we have in Jesus, and then I'll get back to what I wanted to cover. What a friend we have in Jesus, key of C. It's normally done in the key of F or E flat, or congregation friendly, but because the intent of this booklet is to help train the new beginner musician in a way that is not being done. I don't know of any other content creator on YouTube that I've been watching, because I'm subscribed to them as they all come on. I'd like to see, okay, are you guys going to teach traditional, or are you just going to stay with contemporary? And most of them stay with today's contemporary sound. And I'm like, okay, well, who's going to prepare the beginner musician with a foundation of hymns, but played in a way that is in a lesson format? This is what this is for, a lesson format. What a friend we have in Jesus. We look for our scale to find our first note, the 5 or the G. Now, built on the scales, but there's a pentatonic scale in there. That's the pentatonic scale. That's a jazz scale, which means you can go get chords from the jazz world. So that will get you, again, I put a little more on there than I would, but this booklet will give you the chords that are, and I purposely changed some of the chords to give you 7 chords to make the user, the young beginner, go into that chart and see what a G7 chord look like, what a D7 chord look like, so that they'll have a reference to be able to now build on every song they're learning. Because you'll find that, like the jazz standards, the hymn standards are all using the same chords to give a certain color tone. Minor 2, 7, 1, 2, 3, block chords, 2, and resolve to a G7. Back to the 1. Now, I don't have the Chordy app up for a purpose, because piano players did not have the use of a electronic assistant for them to learn chords. They basically used to have a book in front of them. If you didn't have a book, as I did as a youngster, I only had my ears to hear the chord and to find it within the context of the scale. I want to change that last chord to a D, and then drop down to a diminished chord and holding the bass on. The melody is here, hold that, but put an F in there on the thumb to a D, and then finish it off. All right, so let me take the book down. But again, book is designed for young musicians, but I purposely threw in, because I knew that they were going to get bored, I threw in diminished chord progressions. Why? Because as they're learning to play, and as you heard me play, I can throw in a diminished chord in the path of the melody whenever I want to, because I know it exists. So they get the progressions. Key of C, and I gave them more than one key, because in order to keep a young musician interested in music, especially for the church, you can't just give them one style. You got to give them multiple opportunities to hear something different that they can practice, and then go back into what they've been doing, and then add more to it. And I believe, how far did I go? I don't think I added anything more after that. Just more songs. Okay, so this is available on the YouTube channel store online, and if you're a member of the Patreon group, you get this as part of your a perk for your subscription. Yes, book 2 is coming out, but book 2 is going to deal with progressions. I'm probably I got to get out of the 60s. Probably 65% done, because every time I open it up to do the editing, I want to add something new. Right now I'm looking at adding songs. I'm trying to figure out which songs I want to add in a block chord format. So let's say you wanted to learn Total Praise in the key of B flat. I could block out Total Praise in the key of B flat. That's what's rolling in my head. I want to put songs that you play all the time in a different key and give you a visual format to practice, and then to get to see how all these chords are just chords to a melody. That's all it is. B flat. There it is. A flat. If I get that out of my head, I may give you some other songs also. Not a lot, but enough to keep you interested in what I am trying to portray. That once you learn the 101 of piano, all of a sudden, any song that you're playing, you don't have to worry about listening to someone else and how they interpret it. You will learn your own path. Let me go back to these questions so that I, again, don't leave you out. Okay. Oh, thank you for the compliments. I've been out here technically since 1999 on AOL. So anyone that's come after me, I was first, and they came after me. Not too many. In fact, I can't remember. I think there was another guy on the internet back in 1999. I can't remember his name, but before Hear and Play, there was Sam. In fact, Hear and Play that's another story. Let's see. Hymns are great songs. Jesus, all the world to me. How great thou art. Okay. What is the thought process to do it without the melody? Can you go through it slower to show how you do without the melody? Block chords. Okay, I think I'm caught up. Thank you for all of the accolades. I do what I do because I remember what it was like when I was a youngster and no one would show anything to me, let alone put a book in my hand or point me to a store to get a book. So this is what I do. So again, for those of us that are getting older, we know that we're just a breath away from eternity. I like to leave something that someone else can benefit by, because I want the younger musicians and those who are intermediate to look past where you are right now and look to a potential, your potential future. What can you be doing in the future? Not what you're doing right now, but look into 2025. There's a lot of stuff coming up in the future, and you want to be positioned to be able to say, I can walk into that potential position that may open up because I stopped and listened to another content creator who loves music, as I did when I was a youngster in high school learning instruments. My teacher was an actual musician, not a teacher who was subbing for the music teacher. He was a musician first and a teacher, and he instilled in me the love of music behind the theory and the practice of it, and how to always look to get better than you were on your last performance. So there was a question, go through how to do chords without the melody. Let me change, let me just make sure that I'm still covering. To master chord structures and playing styles, often using also using church settings. Got to fix that. Focus on smooth transitions and constant tempo. Okay, I can now change away from that page to this page. When you have, I'm still in the key of C, good. When you have adapted yourself to hearing a song before you play it, you will anticipate the chord changes before they come up. Let me look at my list. You can't see, I'm gonna look at the list and pick one that I have in there. Okay, Just As I Am, a invitational song that where people who are coming to Christ, they used to play that. I'm not sure what they're doing now. I've heard of some adaptations of different songs, but Just As I Am was a traditional altar song, which means people come to the altar to be prayed for issues they want to get prayer. You need to set the mood of the service by not jumping and shouting, but calming things down. In the key, let's go from the key of C. Let's go to, and my insect friends are back already. Let's go to D flat. We'll go half step. Now I'm looking at the notes, but I'm also in my head knowing where the notes are going to fall. I can predetermine what chords I want. Now I can go to the 1, or I can start this is outside of the range of the scale, but I like that tone, but it's got to resolve. Now I can go from right here and resolve. When you don't know where chords are placed in the spectrum of the keyboard, you will hesitate to go and look for them, because I took the time to understand how jazz and gospel are married together. I learned what everyone else was doing and began to adapt. Three-part harmony. Minor, 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 7, 7. Now you can see the left hand is the melody is still in the right hand, but the left hand is giving support chords, because that's what I would practice. And 1, As you can see, the hands are forming. I am predetermining what chord I want to play, and before I get there, my hands are forming that chord. Why? Because there's a particular sound I want. Now, if I want to add bass, now there's a full jazz chord. What are we going to call this? I'm not going to call it anything because my Chordy app isn't registering my MIDI. That's what happens when I don't play all the practice. Now it's registering. Okay. E flat, minor 9. Where is it getting the lowest note from? The lowest note determines the name of the chord. Now, normally you wouldn't hear these two notes together because they would clash. But you add in all the chords underneath. Take away some notes. Take away some notes. Take away some notes. Take away more notes. The question was, how do you play notes without the melody? You have to know the melody path and then how to support that path with hearing the melody in your head but not playing it. So I know that if I want to go outside, I could go let me do this while I have you live here. I'm going to record a track. This keyboard does record tracks. First of all, before I record a track, let's pick an instrument to use. Because the only way to really demonstrate how to chord around a melody without playing a melody is to have something to practice with that's going to play correct. I want a flugelhorn. No. Let's see. Looking for, there it is, flugelhorn. Oh, muted. Okay, what we'll do with that one. That's too much of an echo. Baby trumpet. I want fat, but I don't want too brash. No. I want to keep from going away from the saxophone. French horn. Perfect. So I'm going to do a track, and I'm going to show you how I'll put chords around it. So I'm doing it live. Let's, okay, record and record. Press enter to record. Rest. I'm setting the tempo. 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. A flat is your all. Go to the top. like to save that. Enter. All right, so it's saved. Let's go back to our piano sound. And let's go into play, Turno, and then the last thing we did. So now we know what key it's going to be. No, it's not what's supposed to be there. I hit the wrong voice. Okay, back into here, play. So this is how a musician should practice playing hymns, not in a church service, but with a true melody in your background and an assortment of chords all around you, and then a way to just hear what's happening melody-wise as you pick and choose what chords you want to use. So I went very many different ways there. I went classical, I went jazz, I went traditional. I was picking and choosing the chords I was going to play before I played them. So now if I had to do that over again, after replaying the chords I just played, I would pick another path and another piano sound, because they're both competing for that space. So let's change into intimate. Concert grand, get a little more brighter. So now I will go an actual different path. Let's pull up number 13. I know it's coming up. Enter. I'm thinking while they're playing. Tritone. ahead of myself. So again, the hymn world is missing out on this set of current musicians that have so many beautiful reharmonized chords, and a fear of just going after these type of songs that would still lend to the actual style, and then leaving a mark for the musicians coming behind them, not behind me. The guys behind me, my era, I know who most of them are. Fortunately, some of them have already passed, and a lot of them have become pastors. I did not want to go that route, being a musician, getting a group, starting a fellowship, and then starting a church. I wanted nothing to do with it. I'd rather stay a musician because it's safer. But when you're not being I don't want to say bombarded, indoctrinated into what music is and how to appreciate all styles of music, it sort of takes away or dilutes the sounds that you could possibly have. Now, if I were to go back and redo that track, I would pick a flute and not that horn, because that horn is, the tone of it is in, from a tone wise, it is in competition with what I'm doing, because it's in this range. I would have done it with a flute higher. There is no top musician. There are musicians who have styles that identify who they are. Some might say a top musician is the one that plays concerts all over the world, and they play all the classical music. Some may say it is a jazz musician. And some may say it is a musician who is recognizable playing in any sort of a genre. They may be in the jazz world. They may be in the country music world. It could be the guy who's making the most money. That may be considered the top musician. I think when we begin to label musicians, we sort of create a hierarchy. Well, if you want to be at the top, you got to outplay this guy. I never had that issue when I was a musician coming up, because I didn't idolize musicians. I wanted to idolize the musical styles. So if I'm learning a Thomas Whitfield song, I wanted to play it the way Thomas Whitfield played it. If I wanted to learn a Richard Smallwood song, I wanted to play it like Richard Smallwood. Or I wanted to play it like I heard it on the album or on the recording. So I didn't idolize any musician. If I wanted to play like Butch Haywood was always he has the Brooklyn style. You need an organ for that. Whatever song I was learning, I wanted to sound like the musicians on that particular album. So there was no one musician who I said, oh, he's the best out of the group. No, Corey Henry I saw when he was 5 years old playing at his mother's church. He's from the New York City area, and so am I. I was in Manhattan. He was in Brooklyn. I went to his church one day with my church, and I saw this kid surrounded on the organ playing. So I walked up and I said, this is not normal. A 5-year-old playing the same chords I play and with bass notes on his left hand. My eyes saw that, and I said, this is not normal. And then all these guys standing there gawking over him. I'm like, guys, go to work. Because if he's doing chords you don't know, then you need to get to work. Corey Henry is a anomaly. He has a work ethic along with his life. If you ever followed his life, he had a lot of tragedy early in his life, and which drove him, I guess, or inspired him to get deep into music. But Corey Henry had music as his life work. I had a day job. I had a family. As you see, Corey Henry has no family. I don't know if he's ever worked a job where he's put in 30 plus years, which would have taken him away from everything he's doing right now. So I don't idolize him. When I do hear him playing on some of his recordings, and again, I have purchased a lot of his products online when he came out with a new product because I knew him. I don't know him, but I know of him, being that I was in his same denomination, Church of God in Christ. When I hear him play on anything that he's doing, I'll look to see what can I pick up from him. Not to play like him, but to pick up some pieces to add to what I currently do. Well, Jaden Arnold is like the current state of these younger crew of musicians. Unless you're working a day job, that would take you away from building your I'll call it legacy music-wise. Now, I always look at a musician as to, well, what are they creating besides church music? Corey Henry does more than just church music. He's in the church music mode right now, but there's so much more he's done. When I watched him play on that Lingus art project with the snarky puppy, when I watch that, I'm like, okay, I can't do that. And there are people who have transcribed what he's doing, and I've watched their videos, and I go, I still can't do that. I have no need to do it. But if I wanted to go and use that as a form of study from the YouTube, then I know where to go find those videos. But what musicians need to have, yes, you should have a musician locally who is giving you a well-rounded look at music, not just the latest shout bump. I can remember the West Angeles videos of that West Angeles shout bump, and I said, okay, I don't know that. Let me see if I can work on that. I said, oh, okay, all right. Major, minor, he's going to diminish. Okay, he's using the chord names. It's the technique that has you get it that note. Just following what he's doing. I said, okay, that's great for that speed. Hopefully your church shouts at that speed. If they do, they're out of breath after the first 2 minutes. But it's all about, well, what can I learn, something that I don't know, and do I have a potential use for it? But from a hymn standpoint, when you get comfortable applying the scales, arpeggios, chord progressions to a hymn, all of a sudden that song, that hymn opens up. If you were doing, what was one that was in the comments? Let me see. There was a song mentioned in the comments. What hymn? I saw that. Okay, Jesus All the World to Me. That is one of my favorite go-to hymns. It's done in the key of A flat. I play it differently every time I play it. All in the scales. Pentatonic scales. I am sad. He makes me glad. He's my friend. Now, what I have not heard is any musician play that song with any flair. Look at these chords I'm using. Drop 2. Without the bass. Just drop 2. Just drop 2. Missed a note. Drop 2. Just no, that wasn't put there. F. There it is. Drop tone with a tritone. There we go. In my head, I had to see the change of the chord I want to hear and then pick the notes in my head before I actually sent my fingers to go play them. So now if I were going to adapt more chords, we'll go here. Passing tones to the 6, to the 2, to the 5. Go to 4 bass on the 5 so I can pass it down to the 1, 2, to the 5, 6, 7, 4 to 3, flat 6, and go to a major 6, to a 7, flat 2, to the 2 with a major 2, with a 7th on it. Diminished chord to my E flat 7th chord. 5, 6, 7, trying to talk the number system. But as you can see, I am selecting chords which are not part of the number system progressions because I can hear what chords I want to play from practicing so many variations of chords. When do I want to go major or 7th? Go with a 7th. Because you don't see chord yap, but I can see it in my head. And I know that's going to be a 7th on the 6th. When you can hear him played, not necessarily the way that church style is, but by a musician who has an understanding of the relationship between melody and chords, passing tones, block chords, chords in motion, which is the jazz feel, then all of a sudden the mystery of playing a hymn dissipates. Because now you want to sit down and go, well, gee, he showed me these changes. And you go back, just is. Then you go find your own way. Just. or I can go to support a melody line and find passing tones or block chords to help to assist you in developing a, not call it a musical affair with a hymn. What was the other one that was called out? Just looking back at the comments, there were a few hymns. Lord, don't move my mountain. I wouldn't call that a hymn. I'd call that a gospel song, because you won't find it in the hymn book. I'll put it like that. Hymns have been designated, and the era in which this Lord Don't Move My Mountain was written, it was not in the era. Era of hymns is 1400s, which is John Wesley. He is probably the most prolific songwriter of hymns that we still sing today. It shocked me when I was a music director for the United Methodist Church, and they handed me a hymnal book with 800 hymns in it, and they said most of them was written by John Wesley, to see what some of those songs were. I said, well, gee, the songbooks that I saw these hymns in my church denomination, did not relate to the fact that this man from the 1400s, especially a lot of the Christmas songs, were written by one man, John Wesley, who was the founder of the United Methodist movement back in these colonies back in the 1400s. So I got an education joining a denomination that was built on a lot of the hymns we now still sing today. That's why I have an appreciation more of the hymns than I received from the denomination. The denomination I was in would just sing one verse and the chorus 20 times. And I go, okay, how many times can we sing the chorus? We're in the Methodist church. If they had 6 verses, you did all 6 verses and 6 choruses. And I'm like, okay, this is what I need, because now it gives me an opening to change how many ways I can approach each verse. Still keeping the melody there, but now I can add a different state. Rather than go to the major and go to the minor, rather than go there, I can go to a jazz turn like this to help support an actual melody line. Welcome, Wills. And Springfield, I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge you, Andrew, who came in. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Gigi, I think I did in that Sub-Zero. I did acknowledge you. So, as a part of this lesson, again, this is not the only part you're going to see. This is just one subset of what's going to be happening throughout the month. I want to see how long I've been here, over an hour and a half. A subset of what I'm going to be covering to get piano players in love with the piano. That's why I like keeping the piano style here. Every song I break down will be done in the actual piano mode, because that's a sound that a pianist needs to hear. Now I have my grand piano, which gives you a more open, fuller sound, but I love the mellower sound because it helps the chords fill up the tones. Find the hymns that have a meaning to you. Yes, they're not being sung in church today, so you may question, well, I only know I Surrender All. Beautiful hymn, built on the scales. Key of D flat. Right in the scales. Right in the scales. Right down the scales. So if you practice your scales, you know the song I Surrender All, because it's built on the scales. Then you begin to build your chords. First your bass chords, or block chords. 2, 3, 5. Stay in the 5. 6. 2, 3, 5. And 1. Bass line. Basics. Those are the chords that help establish where you want to go. Now you can change. it is. Now you can change your chords, add your progressions, passing tone to get to the 5. Passing tones. I surrender 3. Passing tone. Minor to a major 7. And you can go a little contemporary. Now here you can walk up, put a chord with it. Is that the right chord? There it is. I had to hear that I want a diminished chord there. But if you don't know a diminished chord is there, you won't look for it. I surrender, or you can call it, again, one note plus or minus can change a whole chord. That sounds horrible, but that sounds better. Find a path by experimenting. All to G my. Now this is your progressions. 5, 1, 4, diminished chord, passing tones, I, passing tones, surrender, these are the block chords, and all. And right there you find the Richard Smallwood Amen chords. When you play hymns, using the melody as your guide, all the chords underneath and some chords above can help you develop a good practice regimen for them. What is the difference between C sharp and D flat? There's no designation on sheet music. That's the only difference. Either you're going to have 5 sharps or 5 flats, is that right? C sharp. Let me pull it up. If I went to C sharp, it should show me just adjust that window. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sharps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just gonna sharp to 6. Is that right? Why did that go out again? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. 7 sharps. If you were to use D flat, and again, this is just for sheet music representation. It doesn't change anything on the keyboard. You have 5 flats. D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, and C flat. Okay, it's only C flat when you're in the key of, it's only C flat when you're in the key of F sharp. So 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5, okay. It's only sheet music designation. Is it easier to read flats or sharps when you're looking at sheet music? It's a lot easier to read flats than it is to read sharps, because now you're worried about sharpening everything that falls into the white notes. Where with the D flat, you have less occidentals on the page. Again, it's basically it's an assist for people who read sheet music. If you're playing on the keyboard, you don't see sharps or flats when you're looking at the keyboard. You see white keys and black keys. I can't make it any more plainer than that. I learned C sharp when I was learning. Then when I saw a book that had D flat, I'm like, D flat. I says, okay, C, D, flat to D. Oh, yeah, it is D flat. Then when I looked at hymn books writ their notes in D flat, not C sharp, which made it easier when you're looking at notes on the sheet music. That is my interpretation of it. If there's another one, then I can probably use ChatGPT to give me a more technical answer. Lord, Don't Move My Mountain is in the Songs of Zion book, especially in Your Time It Was Black. I know you remember the hymnals. Yes, Songs of Zion. Yes, I do remember Songs of Zion. Songs of Zion would have a very generic chording for the music there. I don't think I didn't play that song for my 19 years though. Jazz. But as you become savvy to the different styles of music, you'll be able to call out, as I do, I can call out the styles of music based on the era in which they was written and the chord progressions that are being used. Welcome, Brother Mitchell. The piano is a tremendous instrument to learn on for beginner musicians. Even if you get a keyboard, as I have such right here, I learned on a spinet piano at home that my father had. But when my church career began, I was on a Steinway. And I found that the notes on the Steinway and the notes on the spinet were the same size. Different tone quality coming from maybe at that time a $2,000 piano versus a $35,000 piano. That's why I can appreciate the different tones that I get from this keyboard. If I want to go back to the sound of what I had on my house piano, that's what I had. So when I went to various churches, and there was no Steinway, I wasn't lost. I wasn't like, I can't play that. It was like, oh, I'm at home. So I can play on anything that's in tune or out of tune. my ears are tuned to knowing where the notes should be, being if it's a little out of tune, my hands still know where to go find the chords that I want to be playing. That 3-4-2-5-1 progression in that style of music is very useful. 3-4-2-5-1. 3-4-2-5-1. I got to look at where those chords were. 3-4-2-5-1. 3-4. If I were in the key of A flat, the 3 would be 4 E 3 4 2 5 1. Now again, the number system is still a foreign language to me without a melody to support it. I can only hear that as 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, okay, and what chords, where would those chords fit? Sorry, Brother Thomas, I'm not a number system guy. I can't pick up a song with just numbers in front of me. I need a title, lyrics, or a melody to associate where those chords, how those chords would associate with a song. Again, I'm not a numbers guy. I am working on it, but then the more that I work on it, Lord, don't move my mountain. Okay. Okay, right there. All right, now I see what you're talking about. In relationship to the song, I see where it is now based on the number system. 3, 4, 2, 5, 1. Because it only fits those type of songs. Going a different way. I'm always want to find a different path that is not traditional. Which is what jazz does. It improvises. Welcome, Jay Merritt. Can you make a video on congregational songs in the key of E major? That would be very helpful. E major? I guess you must have a guitar player. Most songs are pushed either to E flat or to F. E major is just, it's another key. And once you know the scales, and congregational songs follow a pattern, which is kind of what, if you were doing congregational songs. Jesus on the main line, Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. That's the 1, the 4. Jesus on the, that's the gospel, what do they call that? E minor 6. Diminished, tell him you want. And the turn chord would be the classical, or not classical, but the contemporary turn. Jesus on the main line, the 2, tell him 5, 2, 6. Jesus on the main line now. If you can play in G major, C sharp, F sharp, and B major, E major is a cakewalk. again, it becomes a practice exercise. Let me pull up my rhythm section. Just as you would practice a hymn, you want to practice congregational songs the same way. Want this. No matter what congregational song you want to do, you want that change. Want this minor run. If you can play in G, change one note. Major. This is scale practice. Every note adjacent in E is available to you. F sharp, all these notes are good in congregational songs, but you got to know they're there. Again, E minor is G major. Same notes as G major, so go to G and borrow some notes. And my remember the F. No, F. There it is. B, there it is, and your F. Just fade that out. When you get comfortable with your scales, and then you look to see the adjacent notes that you can play in all keys, and just go up a half a step. Whatever you do in F, go down to G, or to E rather, and do the same thing. You'll find out all of a sudden it's not that hard a key to play in once you borrow from the keys that you are comfortable in. And again, these notes, if you can play in C sharp, D flat, those are the same notes you're going to use in E major. Depends on where you stop. You stop there, that's in D flat, C sharp, but use those same notes and go to E major. Depends on what note that you stop in, which is the key that you want. They're all relative. That you just don't know that they're there because you don't practice in every key. E major becomes a cinch once you start to borrow in from a practice standpoint, and you get a nice rhythm track to practice with. And as long as you don't rush the song, it becomes that much easier. And of course, chromatic chords lets you hear every note that you could potentially go to. When you want to do the your tritones. And resolve it. Let's keep that one here. There's what I wanted. This is your G flat, C, F sharp, to your B, and you're right there in E major. Oh yes, my channel gets you out of transposing. Do a search on my no transposing video, and that was an actual series along with my scale series. There, it's designed. If you just practice what I demonstrate, you will become, the transpose button will be just a feature on the keyboard that you're playing on, because you will learn to play in other keys and then borrow, as I show you, borrow this movement from G so all you're doing is borrowing it. This is in G. This is E. The same movement, but you're just starting a different route to start in, because they're the same notes. In a sense, D minor is the same notes as G major. But if no musician ever showed you that or told you that, you would never know. I tell everything. I hide nothing, because I want you to be more advanced than I was in my earlier days. just practicing now, things I haven't done for so many years. Let me go back and look at the questions, because again, sometimes I'll get sidetracked and I will forget that I've got people watching me. Okay, congregational songs and image. Congregational songs, I didn't just show you, I showed you chords that congregational songs use. They use the 1 with a 7th. They use the 4 with a minor. They use the diminished up, and then they resolve on the 4 chord. Even though it's the 5 bass right there. Those will get you through every congregational song, because it's always going to be, let's see, somebody prayed for me. Somebody prayed for me. Coming on me. Took their time and prayed for. They go on the 7th chord. Now the change is the diminished chord. F. Yep. Diminished chord into the 2. I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad we prayed. Walk up. I'm so glad they prayed for me. That jazz turn gives a little more color to it, other than that's a jazz turn, but I like this turn. Somebody prayed. Early on my mind. Took the time and prayed for me. I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed. Melody dependent. Chords are adjustable. Straight chords, jazz chords, contemporary chords, to be able to, from a music standpoint, keep you engaged in the actual music. Can you do the song I Seen Him Do It? Jaden, welcome. I don't know the song I seen him do it. I've been trying to keep away from doing requests when I'm doing an actual series. Can you make a video on the congregational songs? Email? Okay, that one I did answer. That was for Jane Neer. All right, I am long into this. I was going to try to keep it an hour. It's at 2 hours. So I thank you for watching, for being engaged. I always like to have comments. Let's put this back to here. The hymn playing for the pianist is not just a lesson exercise, but it will strengthen your resolve in being able to solo. Now that is covered. That is coming up, soloing. Now sight reading, we may do some sight reading. I did put some music on a workbook I have that is available also on my Patreon free membership page. If you join the Patreon membership page for free, you do get access to the workbook that I put together back in 2011, where I did put in some basic sheet music from the African American Heritage Hymnal. Soloing is where, as the musician, you are putting everything that you know into a particular song, be it chords, be it a melody that you want to chord around, and you're not restricted by congregation, restricted by praise team. You're not being restricted by what's the timing. You are creating the timing. And by that, I mean, if I were to look at, let me see if I can take one of your praise songs and do it. Yeah. My Era. Our God is an awesome God, in the key of E flat minor, E flat minor, E flat. Now you might say, well, that song is in C minor. Yes, but it's also in E flat major, because they share the same scale notes. our God. Melody at the top is an awesome God. He reigns. These are movement from heaven above. With wisdom, chord change, and power and love. Our God is an awesome God. Those are the progressions. 6, 2, 4, 1. Let me see, is that right? 6, 2, 5, 1, sharp to 4 to get me to the 4. By 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the scale. These are passing tones to get me to here, the 5, passing tones with tritones. Drop 2, right, but minor. This chord is a augmented chord in G, but I'm using it as a passing tone. With wisdom, power, and love, our God is an awesome. Now, is that soloing? Yes, because I can now expand on that. Arpeggios. Block chords with arpeggios. G. Block chords to get me to the 6. And why am I putting that A flat in there? There it is. Changing the chord with wisdom. Chromatic. The arpeggios. Do I go minor, go major? Go major. All this movement is the result of practicing scales. And all you're doing is teaching your hands how to move across the notes. Piano playing is an art form. I'm actually drawing on the notes that are in front of me in my head and going to high notes, a low note, another low note, as you can see, the chord I'm forming is the same chords on top, but a different range. Keep it straight. Wisdom, power, and love, our God. Dun, 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 dun. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, B, C, E, G. Got to hear it here first, and then your hands have got to know where the notes are, and that only comes from practicing. Open for questions about the subject. Sorry, I'm not looking for viewer requests on this. Did I get him? No. Not looking for viewer requests on this live stream. Perhaps I will do. Isn't the original key of that song B major? No. This is the Helen Baylor version. This is the Helen Baylor version. Everybody does a different version, and we'll put it in a different key to identify their version. I know I realize it takes 30 seconds for a request to show up, so give you an opportunity now to, not a viewer request, put that in the comments. I won't. This one won't be deleted. The previous one from yesterday, I'm going to do some editing and put that one back up. I'm going to probably cut it up too, because I'm going to cut it into segments so it's not so long. Give everybody a chance to get the best of what was covered on yesterday's video. All right, if don't see anything popping up, no viewer request, probably, what's today, Wednesday, probably Friday evening, because I do have at least 5 viewer requests in the queue. I may do a viewer request evening on Friday. This way you can bring your request then. There are songs that were asked for a concert this weekend by one of our viewers. I'm going to look at those songs again. Again, last minute is never good with me, because I look like if though I'm being taken advantage of, and that won't happen, because I believe if you're going to do music, you want to do it right, which means I'm not going to parse and parcel a song that is not being used for a traditional service and not a national concert. But that's just me. That's how I've always looked at it. Let me show you how I do it, and then you won't have to ask in an emergency for a song. But I will go back. Let me just see what were those songs. Courtney Black, No Games. That's the name of some and Morris Day time to have. Courtney Black, is he gospel? Now I gotta go find out who Courtney Black is. Courtney Black, No Games. Doesn't sound like a gospel song to me.
Andromeda, you said.
Wow, it's an honor to. Wow, it's an.
Did I spell it correctly? Left out the U. That's why it's not coming up. Still not coming up. I'm going to have to take an assumption that this is not a gospel song, in which case it wouldn't be pushed up to my list, even if it is an emergency. So I'm not even seeing I got the correct spelling there. I'm not seeing anything on YouTube for Courtney Black No Games. And I think I did look at the Morris Day, Time Cool, and that wasn't a traditional gospel song. We'll do it live. Yeah, okay. So, Time Cool. Not traditional gospel. Dimitri, these type of requests I would do as a consultation because they're not traditional gospel. It's not going to be played Sunday morning in someone's service. You want the breakdown of the, and I do talk to the R&B styles of chords because they also are crossover chords used in church. But when it's a straight R&B song, then it doesn't fit the spectrum of who I speak to musically, which means you want a personalized breakdown of a song. For that, you need to contact me through my Sound of Joy 123 Gmail. We'll work out a price, and then I can break down the chords used, not to break down the song, but break down the chords used at a cost. I'm going to put it like that because I'm 100% geared towards building up church musicians. When I have a site that's going to cover all music, and I have done a couple of songs out of requests from new eyes looking at my channel, because I have posted R&B chords as part of my shorts on YouTube, just to bring more eyes to the channel. There is a correlation of chords which you hear in the R&B world. But once you know where they are built on, they're built on the same system that chords. They're just used differently, and how they are interpreted with an actual beat in the background. In fact, what I do sometimes is I pull up a R&B patch just to show how these chords are basically used. That's all it is, the same chords. I do that purposely so that the musicians who do crossover music on this channel will get an opportunity to see that it's the same chords, it's just attached to a different mode, the R&B style. What lets you know that I could have gone anywhere musically. I chose the church, but I could have gone anywhere because I absorb what I listen to. Welcome, James. Are you able to play back a quick quartet from the 1 to the 6? I did a whole quartet series also for the quartet chords. They are, when you're doing quartet music, what you're looking for is the pattern that is related to the quartet quartet genre. Depending upon what key you're in. If you're in the key of C, and you're thinking of the pentatonic scale, because quartet music is jazz. So you're going to have to rely on your bass as your guide for your chords. 6 chords are always going to be in this mode. And this is going to be your 1. Come out on your 5 and then to your 1. I'm sorry, I'm getting insects are harassing me with these lights I have on. Why? Because my father was a church musician and I wasn't going to go anywhere else as long as I was under his roof. That's why. My grandfather was a pastor. He had his own church too. So I'm from a family of church musicians. If you put my father and his uncle and his brother together, my uncle, out of his 2 families, there were 7 boys, and we all played for different churches. So church was, and it was an indoctrination. I was never going to go anywhere but to church up until the time I turned, well, I guess 18, when I got my first full-time job. But by that time, church was all that I was offered, you might say. And in today's world, young people can decide not to go to church when they're 5 years old. That choice did not exist for me coming up. It was either church or a whooping. I'm from that era. So a lot of the musicians now that are able to go to church and play on the road, I have one cousin, second cousin, that is one of the musicians for 50 Cents. So when 50 Cents goes on the road for 6 months, he tells his wife and his job, I'll be back. And he goes and he plays for 50 Cents. Now, if he and I playing in a church, he also plays for a church also. If he and I were going to play for a church and be up against one another, I'd wash the floors with him from a church standpoint. But as far as doing 50 Cent music, he's got me covered. I wouldn't stand a chance. But that is the spectrum of the life that I had as a youngster versus the life he has. My first cousin is also a church musician from his father. He and I started my first cousin off in music when I was trying to figure it out also, because we lived close. We had an organ, my uncle had an organ, we had a piano, they had a piano. We go to his house and bang out notes, he'd come to my house and bang out notes. So we all had that in common. And we also had in common when our parents went to church, we went to church too. But in, life sometimes will present avenues for you. When you choose to take that avenue, you go whatever that avenue has on it. My avenue led me straight to church, and there was a need. There was a Steinway sitting there not being played. So while the service was going on and all the other musicians wanted to play the organ, the Steinway sat there empty. I asked, can I play this organ, or the piano rather? And they looked at me and said, oh, yeah, you play piano? I said, yes, I do. Then when I sat down and started playing Come and Go With Me by the Hawkins, they're like, oh, you can play that? I says, yep. What else do you know? The songs on the album, because I listened to it at home and I worked out on the chords. And then when I began to play the hymns and the anthems from memory and not from playing on the sheet music, they said, oh, okay, yeah, you can play with us, but you're going to be on the piano. I said, no problem. I just want to play music. That's all I wanted to do. And the piano Steinway gave me for 9 years. I played the Steinway piano, and I got to play the music of that era that featured the piano. Today, of course, you really very rarely hear the piano featured. Jada, that is a question that has been bandied about. Should the musician get paid? That question has been bandied about by people who get caught up in their emotions. They'll start finding scripture that says, oh, well, in the Old Testament they got paid. Well, in the Old Testament they were skilled too. That puts that argument down. Are you worth getting paid from my standpoint, I had a job purposely because I didn't expect the church to take care of me. Today's generation of musicians expect the church to take care of them, and then they spend their money on keyboards. I had a full-time day job, which I had to give 100% of my time to when I told the church, if my job calls me on a Sunday, I'm going to my job. Why? Because they pay into my Social Security, they pay into my pension, they pay my health care. You guys don't. So if you're going to look at being the church as being the sole source of income for you, then you better be certain that you know everything you need to know to support that ministry with the expectation that you can be replaced the next coming year. As a lot of musicians found out, unfortunately, during the time of 2020 when all the churches were closed, if they had no other financial avenue to go to, they was begging for money for GoFundMe or figuring out how can they squeeze more money out of a church doors who were closed. I didn't have that problem. I had a day job that was paying me, and the church's money wasn't. Actually, I was retired during the time of COVID, wasn't I? Yes, I was retired. Hate to use that word, the C-19. That's why I'll use that. YouTube is sensitive to that word. During the time of C-19, I retired actually retired in the August of that year. So I got to see what happened to all the churches when they shut down, and saw all the musicians online crying. Well, I had a day job that protected me from financial unforeseen financial calamities like a church closing down. But should they get paid based upon their skill level? Yes. If they can't pick this up and play any page that is in here, then they shouldn't be getting any more than $300. That should be the limit. The lowest limit should be $300. That keeps them engaged, keeps them encouraged, keeps them coming. But also it's low enough to where if they become a detriment to the ministry, they can be replaced by someone else. And then the restrictions or limits or expectations, I should say, put on that musician. Say, we want to be able to sing this song on Christmas time. We don't want to be doing praise and worship songs during Christmas. We don't want to be doing praise and worship songs during Easter. We don't want to be doing praise and worship songs during Epiphany. We don't want to be doing praise and worship songs during the the resurrection of Easter. Yeah, Easter. What is the one? Oh, Pentecost. We want songs relative to the different times in the life of the church. Now, of course, while you were tired, I got tired. Like I said, when you love something enough that you dedicate your life to it, anything that would detriment you from enjoying that, you no longer want to be bothered with. And yes, it is stressful. Stress is real, especially for a musician who gives their entire being to making sure that they are as correct as possible, and then hoping to keep everyone around them as correct as possible for the one goal, and that is providing the type of music that would be pleasing not only to God but to those that listen. And anything that would, for me, anything that would hinder that, I don't need to be a part of. So yes, I retired. As much playing as you see me doing right now, it's the same level it was when I was playing for 48 consecutive years. If anything, it's a little bit higher because I'm being asked to break down songs I never had to play, which means the same fervor I use with learning a song for a church, I put that into when I do the viewer requests. But I do practice the very same things that I did back then. But from a personal nature, I got tired. Tired. Not just put the R-E in front of it. Retired. And no, I have no prospects of going back. I'm enjoying being retired because after 48 consecutive years, I earned it. Do I think you get paid? What's your story about choosing the church? Are you able to play a quick quartet? Yes, I did the 1/6 from the 1 to the 6, and well, how are you gonna get to the 1 to the 6? Follow the path of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. If you want to take the long way, 7, 3, 6, 4, 4, 7. If you want to take the climb, you can take that way to the 6 also, depending upon how quickly you need to get there. How quickly do you need to get from the 1 to the 6? Depends upon the song. If it's the long outdrawn, depends on the song. And then from a music standpoint, how do you want to get to the 6? You know where the notes are. The 1 and the 6 is going to be the minor. How long do you want to be there, and what do you want to do while you're there? How do you want to get to it? What do you want to do while you're there? How do you want to approach it? What style do you want to make? Do you want to go block chords? Do you want to chop it up? Same notes. Same motions, just changing the bass note, but the movements works in the 1 and it works in the 6. And come out on the 5, if that is the style of music that you're doing. So James, I hope that gave you some insights. It's music. Look at it, everything that you do, look at it as being music. Look at how you want to approach it. Once you know the path, pick which way you want to take to get there. So the 1. Follow the scales. The scales will get you anywhere you want to go through musically. Chromatic. 4, 5, 1. And use improv as your guide. All right, I think I've covered everybody. Question-wise, I'm going to go and get some water. Yes, everything is good. Sam Tobin, Sound of Joy Music Services, as always. Why do you think musicians who only play by ear should only get paid $300? Because they don't have the ability to play everything by ear. When you can play everything by ear, then you're skilled to get more. But if all you can do is play a shout and a bump and play preacher chords and a praise song that only has 4 chords in it, and you're just following the leader, basically, you're playing in a band and not playing as a solo musician. When you're in a band, you have less work because you're working on a bass player to play your bass, an aux board or a keyboard player to play the chords that you haven't learned, and someone in a microphone screaming, now we're going to the 1, now we're going to the 4, now we're going to the 6. $300 keeps you engaged, which is coming to the service and learning the songs that you can play at your skill level. When you can play any song, then you can command a larger, a more robust salary. Under contract, of course. This way the contract will state what you can do and what you can't do. But $300 in this day and age keeps the musician engaged. You won't leave because you know you can't get more somewhere else with your skill set. So you'll stay there and you will grow there musically, and hopefully as the church grows, as you grow, then they can offer you more because you will be able to demonstrate, hey, I can do more than the latest praise song that has 4 chords. And I'm being very direct about that because I listen to the music. And more importantly, when I listen to other musicians and they post a video of them playing, I'm critiquing what they're doing. And I'm like, okay, that's a traditional song. Why can't you find the melody? Why can't you find the chords to support a traditional song? No, there are no pro players. Again, we label everybody with these words to separate them from everybody else. There are musicians, skilled, unskilled, learning, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Those are the words I use. Pro and master and professor, I never use those words. What level are they are? What level? Their income from what they do determines where they are in my level. If you're an advanced musician, you're getting an advanced salary. A concert pianist can play at Radio City and command top dollar. I can go to Radio City and they'll laugh me off the stage if they put sheet music in front of me. Put a concert pianist in a church, he'll struggle if you give him no music to play. You say, well, this guy's just making a lot of noise. A concert pianist. But they've studied, they've put that time in, they've sat under professional teachers. And I appreciate that amount of study when I hear a concert pianist play. When I hear a jazz musician who just plays to their skill set, not just American, but from all over the world, I marvel at what they can do because I can't do it. I may give the impression I'm a pro church musician. No, I'm an accomplished church musician, which means put a hymn book in front of me and pick a page. If I don't know it, I will know it within the next 2 hours because I know how to apply what a melody is, harmonies, and then apply the style of music that will support that particular ministry that I'm in. Put me in a Catholic church and give me one of their music with sheet music with their chords, and I will stumble. I'll go, oh, let me look at this. Oh, all right. Long hair music. That's not the realm that I was indoctrinated into. I was indoctrinated into a Pentecostal church where whatever you play, as long as you can keep up with the melody, that goes. I got very uncomfortable doing that. My last 19 years, Stevie Wonder is a R&B musician. If you listen to Stevie Wonder, again, when we start, I now try not to get into these kind of conversations and calling out people's names. R&B is the same chords that are used in jazz. It's the approach that is used. It is the instrumentation that is used. It is the rhythm that is used that changes it. Take the person out of it. Could anyone else have written that song? All right, I've got to go because I'm getting a phone call that I need to answer. But keep it to hymns. Sam Tobin, Sound of Joy Music Services. I got to answer this phone call. Thank you all for your time and look forward to seeing you on the next live stream covering sight reading, being able to improve your ability to read and play new music on the spot. That's going to be fun. Practice with hymnals, sheet music, and chord charts regularly. And I have some chord charts I can actually use for that one. Take care now and be blessed. Sam Tobin, Sound of Joy Music Services. Like, subscribe, and of course, leave a comment. Take care. See you on the next live. Bye.